Hello? Can you guys hear me now? Hello? If you guys can hear me, just confirm in the chat if you can hear me. Yeah, it's like there's no point to starting if you can't hear me. I think it should be working now. Okay, great. Yeah, I don't know what happened there because my all my settings were the same, so I just kind of clicked back the same setting and and then now it's working. Great. Okay, so basically, as you know, the name of the stream is called. Um, I'm going to be giving my first impressions of the winter 2021 anime season. There is a lot. It's like we're back to a fully stacked season. This season alone, we have 42 TV anime shows. You know, that's not including OVAs and movies. Just TV anime. 42 shows. I think before the whole pandemic, the usual was like around 50. So we're almost back up there. But this season alone, with the amount of good shows there's a lot. It feels really stacked. I watched, give or take 14 shows. I watched 14 shows this week, and that's not including leftovers from last season. That's 14 shows. It is including the new sequels that just started, but that's still a lot. I don't know how many of you guys have watched. I am going to go into it and talk about, I'm not going to try to spoil too much. It's really just based on the first episodes. There are some that are already on episode 2, and some exceptions which are on episode 5, but those that, which one I'm talking about. If you do, that one started. It got a head start in December. But yeah, so I'm mostly going to talk about the episode ones. There are a few that I did check out episode 2. And let's see. So, and then here on the side of my screen, as you can see, is an Excel file. I'm going to go through, I just came up with some quick kind of rating categories. It's hard to really judge an anime, kind of too harshly based off of the first episode because a lot of it is set up. But usually in the first episode, that's where they pull out all the stops and kind of throw in all the good stuff to kind of hook you in. And then episode 2, they kind of just, they could take a little bit of a reprieve and kind of lower the quality a little bit. That's usually the case. But I came up with this quick kind of ranking for at least how I felt, how I categorized the episodes I watched this week. So again, it might be a little too simple, but I think I went with great, decent, generic, and awful. And I'm going to go through each one, starting with awful. What I thought was awful from the premieres. Which wasn't too many. And then I'm going to go my way up. And this is sequels included. First impressions are important. I just meant in terms of kind of rating it. Because I feel like in terms of it, pretty much from the first episode, you get the feel for, okay, I'm going to, am I dropping this immediately? Am I doing the 3-episode rule? Give it a few more episodes. Is this just, I already know from this first episode that I'm going to be watching this all season? And, that's the case with premieres, with second seasons as well. For the most part, you're already kind of hooked from the first season. You're going to watch the second season. But again, it's just kind of giving my a metric for how I felt about each one. So I'm going to rank them, next to each other. So let's get started with what I thought was awful this week. This is awful. Yeah, that kind of awful. So, and I'm going to just capture it here. I'm going to talk about ReZero of Healer. I don't know if you guys have heard about that one. That one's kind of like, the premise is essentially, if I can say this on stream, it's essentially revenge porn, the anime. It's basically, like, the best way I can describe it, I did watch the first episode. There was a lot of controversy about it before coming out because it's like Shield Hero, and the controversy there. It's like Shield Hero meets ReZero in some aspects. It's not really an isekai, but it does take place in a fantasy world. And ReZero meets slightly like meets Shield Hero meets hentai. The anime is practically a hentai. That's really what it feels like. It feels like it would have been better served to have just been a pure hentai plot than just, kind of an anime. It's the levels of degeneracy alone. So for those of you that don't know the plot is about a character that is chosen to be, he's a hero. His class is a hero class, but his specialty, similar to, again, Shield Hero, but his specialty is healing. So he can heal like no other. He can pretty much rewind the state that someone is in, back to how they originally were, kind of like Eddie from My Hero Academia season 4. So kind of like that power. But apparently, the healer is treated awful, like abused, like it gets pretty dark. And he spends like 4 years like that being treated like crap. And then he gets the long story short, gets the ability to, with his knowledge, rewind time 4 years back before any of that happened, before he got treated by crap by like the kingdom of I forget what healer, the magician hero. She's like an awful human being that kind of like, I don't know, like drugged him up in order to force him to get addicted to the drugs and be able to heal when they wanted him to and all that stuff. So pretty much it's about him getting his revenge on her and all the people that kind of wronged him in those 4 years. And it's really rapey. So that's essentially the premise. So, I watched the first episode. In terms of not getting harping too much on the premise, because that already is kind of like offensive, and it's better served again, I think. Well, I digress. But the animation itself was okay. It was not too impressive. It was a little bit generic. There was some scenes that, again, it felt like the budget for this was kind of pretty low, or at least what was allotted for it. And so they kind of try to, cut some corners. The backgrounds weren't anything, they were pretty awful, kind of really plain to look at. I don't pay too much attention to backgrounds usually, but with some other stuff I watched this season, I was like, oh, okay, yeah. In comparison to that, this is not too impressive here, not too nice to look at. And the characters again were okay. I actually went to check out the source material afterward, because you have to check if things align with the source material. That's always important. So I did read the manga for a bit and kind of see where this goes. And again, it goes exactly as you would expect from the synopsis. I only got a few chapters in, and it was interesting comparing the anime adaptation and kind of like what they did in the manga, like what they cut out of the manga, and like what they made a little more streamlined. I could definitely see where they simplified some things. So like there's that magician healer character. She like in the manga, she rides in like this nice, cause she's like a princess kind of thing. She's royalty. So she rides in this horse carriage. In the anime, it's just her on a horse, and you don't even see the horse walk cycle. It's just kind of her like, just being on top of it and then getting to the city. And there's other things where the manga had like a little more detail, sort of, or some things that were, I guess, a little bit more intricate, and the anime was just like, yeah, let's not do that. Let's just make it simple. So again, I wouldn't. I mean, it was kind of like, even if you didn't find it awful, I would put it as kind of bottom tier. I don't really have any incentive to continue it, so I'm gonna, put it here. And then I'm gonna give it that I guess that's a 1. That's the awful. There you go. That's what I think of Redo of Healer. Yeah. And then moving on to that's actually the only anime I had for kind of the bottom awful tier. Although, funnily enough, the next category, the ones in this, we're vying for this spot as well, but I think they're like marginally better. So the next category is, as I have here, generic, or, you know, for better term, mediocre kind of anime that were just okay. The first one was, let's write it down here. It's this one's kind of like hard to remember. This is 2.43 Seiin Koko Danshi Volleyball. So it's like a volleyball. It's an all guys volleyball club. And it kind of, you know, this one's tough because it's like, why would you release another kind of volleyball anime like right after Haikyuu to the Top just ended last season? Because it's just it's so fresh in people's heads that it's so hard not to compare. And, you know, this anime from the trailer looked like it was going to be like Haikyuu, but more angsty, more emotional, more slice of life, more, you know, drawing on those heartstrings, you know, maybe more like an Anohana or Nagi no Asukara, or, you know, something more that's more focused on the characters and their emotions towards the sport rather than, you know, them just playing the sport. And as I watched the episode, it was exactly that. But what made it worse for itself was, and there are 2 episodes out for this, so I have not watched the second episode, but I kind of don't have any inclination to watch the second episode. Now, if someone in the chat has watched it and has good things to say, I'll consider it. I don't want to totally write it off. But from the first episode, the main characters, it's like 2 guys that are like childhood friends, and then they kind of like separated when they were kids and went to different schools, and then the friend comes back later on when this guy's in high school, and he's like happy to see him, and the friend is just kind of cold to him. He's like, I don't know you. And I think they used to play volleyball together, you know, and the characters themselves aren't really too interesting. They don't really sort of stand out. I definitely think there was like the way they interact with each other, at least the main character with this guy, you know, he kind of blushes when he's around them. So I don't know if there's this, you know, like kind of Yuri on Ice, kind of like a little more than bromance feel to it, or maybe that's just kind of an undertone, which is fine. I enjoyed Yuri on Ice, but I didn't know if that's what it was going for. Probably is, because it's an all boys volleyball club. But pretty much, like where it really kind of like failed, like what makes it hard as a volleyball anime, again, to not be compared to Haikyuu, and it kind of doesn't do itself any favors, is as these 2 kind of end up, long story short, joining, like being in the volleyball club together and playing together, you find out that this childhood friend guy, he is, and let me know if this doesn't sound familiar, he is a genius setter from another school that just transferred in with a horrible reputation. You know, he's a setter, he's a genius, and he has a horrible reputation. He has trouble getting along with other people, and you know, and then the main character, he's not this happy-go-lucky character, but he's kind of a mellow guy. But in terms of volleyball, he basically, according to the setter guy, he has like a natural talent with his like physical reflexes and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, okay, so he's the Hinata to his Kageyama, but they're not as endearing, not as charming. They're a little kind of, you know, not a little bland, or, you know, or like this Kageyama, this version of Kageyama is a little bit more cold, not as intense, and less kind of forgivable. I don't know. He just seems like he's the type that goes too far. And I guess that makes sense with this kind of angsty slice of life setting. And there's all this kind of like drama and, you know, stuff like that. So again, there's nothing really that compels me to kind of keep watching. It was a little slow. The character designs weren't really too impressive. They were kind of dull. The backgrounds were actually really nice, and compared to ReZero of Healer, like I was looking at the sky, like a sunset. It was very colorful. Animation of the volleyball scenes, you know, they were pretty good. There was nothing crazy, but yeah, that's kind of like it. I don't really have anything else to say about it. You know, if you checked it out, if you saw episode 2, if you liked it, you know, let me know in the chat. Actually, if anyone did check it out, I actually forgot I have this poll like to let me know if you disagree with me. I'm gonna give this, like I said, I'm kind of spoiling it right now, but because I'm naming the categories, but this for me is a 2. If you think differently, let me know in the poll. That'll be up for like 3 minutes if you've checked it out. And then the other one that was in this category of sort of generic mediocre is bottom tier character Nozaki Kun. Oh, I'm sorry. I keep getting that wrong. I keep saying Nozaki Kun. Tomozaki Kun. I am thinking of the that short listless character or listless. I forgot. But if you know what I'm talking about, yeah. Bottom tier character Tomozaki Kun. That the first episode was really, really kind of hard to get through because the dialogue was just so cringy. It's like about this character that is angry. Like he is literally like the bottom tier of. He finds himself to be the bottom tier of society as kind of like a loser that didn't get good looks, and he's just kind of a nerd, and all he does is he's devoted to his video games, and he plays a version of Smash, what is clearly Smash Brothers on his Nintendo Switch, which is nice. I do love me some Smash, but it's called TAC Fam in the show. I forgot what's the abbreviation of that, but he plays that and he's really good at it, but he doesn't find himself to he pretty much is just bitter at everyone that as he calls that was born with these skills, that they're top tier characters while he's like a bottom tier, and they're noobs and they don't really know how to actually they're only getting by through life with the handout of their good looks and their skill set that they were born with, as opposed to actually their hard work and learning things. So again, it was very like he gamified everything. It was really like cringy to listen to, but towards the end, it looks like the poll is blocked. Well, I guess that didn't work. So you know what? Just let me know in the chat what would you rank it? The previous show, if you've watched the volleyball show, great, decent, generic, or awful, just let me know. And someone just mentioned Attack on Titan Season 4. Yeah, Attack on Titan Season 4. I will be getting to that, because we're going by, decent, generic, and awful. So we'll go those first. So, yeah, back to bottom tier character Tomozaki Kun. I thought it got better towards the end, like a little more interesting at the end of the first episode, because they're kind of trying. I guess the point was to make the main character so unlikable from the beginning that you really just didn't like him. Starting him from the bottom, and then now it's the rest of the show, I think, is building him up to be a functional human being that can game life. They put it into game terms. Can succeed in life. Can succeed in life because now I lost my train of thought. I was talking. So he basically, and I did check out the second episode. The second episode, it kind of continues that. What's interesting about that, and I kind of wrote that in my notes, is just one second. I was like what's interesting about the second episode kind of continues that. The second episode was a little better. So he meets with this in the first episode, he meets with this gamer girl that again is much better than him at navigating through being a sociable, popular person, but in secret she's a really good gamer and really into games. So the way she got good at life is by treating it like a game, good at social interaction. So she takes it upon herself to kind of because she respects him as a player, but she thinks not really well of him as kind of how he hasn't been putting any effort to with his appearance or talking with people or anything like that. So she makes it into a game. So what I find interesting, at least in the second episode, is that it basically becomes kind of like like a lesson in social dynamics. Like it actually goes into the lessons, explanations, and then the practical application of like how to form a conversation with someone, how to, what topics to bring up. It's like really simple stuff, but it's not stuff that you're taught in school. And if you've ever felt like awkward in groups and never had experiencing kind of like, picking up on those things or those social cues, I could see how that could feel valuable or even relatable. And then kind of seeing how, he navigates that. That's interesting. But again, the game aspects, it's interesting, but then all the references to it, it's like, okay. I can't really explain it well, but, I wouldn't drop this one. I'm curious to see where it goes. So I'm guessing this one would fall more into my, 3-episode rule, but so far for the 2 episodes, I would give it's with the character design, the kind of everything else, it still isn't really like a standout. So I'd give it like generic kind of like to somewhat decent, but put it that. And again, anyone that did watch it, let me know if you disagree. And then in the decent category, we've got a mix of new ones and sequels I watched here. The first one up is, and this one has like 2 episodes out. This is, and I don't know how to pronounce this. I think it's written SK8. So I think it's skate, but then it's stylized. The 8 is stylized. It's tilted sideways. It's tilted sideways with that, like, kind of makes it look like an infinity sign. So I think Funimation has it as skate the infinity. So yeah. Let's see. Let's go 1 second. And then, actually, let me just, Angel Ranger says to close the poll. How do I do that? Just 1 second. I do not know what I'm doing. All right, complete. Yep, that's done. Okay, great. Well, now that doesn't work, we're not gonna have to worry about that. Generic was the most voted option. So did it work? I don't even know. I haven't been paying attention. That's bad. So Skate the Infinity, I checked this out. I wasn't too interested in, I don't know. I heard some things, and from the look of it, it looked I didn't know what to expect. I saw it was about skateboarding, and it looked very colorful. But sometimes, at least in my experience, and this in my experience with very colorful shows, like that had like too much color, like pretty much the rainbow. Usually, they're not. That's kind of making up for something. They're not usually well written. But in this case, I think you can forgive it, or it makes sense, because again, it's all about, this show is all about skateboarding and kind of like skate gangs and kind of in the underground or in the street. And, all the colors are reminiscent of the graffiti and kind of that look. There's a lot of, that. 1 second. I'm just like looking at my notes for it. I did write like some notes while I was watching. The intro narration for it kind of drew me in. The opening was very colorful. I think it's like there's another one with a mostly male cast. There was some interesting pose work at some point, at least in the opening, reminded me of JoJo. And speaking of JoJo, I think there's going to be a villain character in here that pretty much is like the Dio of this show. He's like the purple-haired Dio. He's listening to like classical violin and kind of like doing some posing and laughing maniacally. He kind of like looks sort of like, if you've watched Tokyo Ghoul, I forget what that guy's name is, the French ghoul, the gourmet guy. He kind of gives me that vibe, but just jacked as all hell, like Dio, and laughing maniacally. So I think that's going to be the antagonist, but there was only a glimpse of him seen in this episode. And with this episode, I was mostly, yes, Delph says, Tony Hawk Underground, the anime, sort of like that. But this takes place in Okinawa, which I was surprised about. I didn't think it was Okinawa, but I didn't feel like it was going to have much of an interesting or overarching plot. It was kind of like, the main character, he loves skateboarding. That's kind of what he does. He skates at night, and that's all he needs. He defines it as his happiness. He kind of meets this other character that's looking for a part-time job, and he kind of gets roped into this whole skating world because he takes the part-time job working with the main character at like this skateboard shop where they do custom skateboards, skateboard decks, and they kind of deliver them to people, and stuff like that. So they have to do that, and this guy, he gets on the skateboard, he completely falls on his ass. He doesn't know anything about skateboarding. And then where the episode really picks up, and I was really ready to write it off because, again, I didn't think this was going to have an overarching plot or anything interesting. But then towards the second half of the episode, they go to deliver one of the skateboards. They're late, and the main character had grabbed the wrong bag for the skateboard. Of course he did. And then the client is pissed, so they're like, "You're gonna have to, you know what? You're gonna have to skate this one. You're gonna have to do the race for us," because he was about to do this race. And the stakes are high. If the client were to lose, as per the challenger, they would have to. He would be able to. The client's girlfriend would be tattooed with the word "dirty slut" on her forehead. So that's not a good look. It's a pretty shitty bet. But so it turns out that the new guy, the blue-haired guy that doesn't know anything about skateboarding, is like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it. He tapes his feet to the skateboard. And now I'm like, okay, this is really going to make me suspend my disbelief here that this guy that doesn't know anything about skateboarding, now they're setting him up to be that he's going to basically be able to compete or catch up toe-to-toe with this pro. I'm like, all right, I don't know. And then what surprised me, and I probably should have seen this coming, was that what was interesting, he starts skateboarding. He is like, with his feet, it was really actually funny scene. With his feet taped to the skateboard, he can't, kick off on the ground to get the momentum. So the guy that he's facing already kind of just went down the hill already. And this guy is kind of like paddling forward with his hands to try to get some speed. And he just looks like a complete novice. Everyone's laughing at him. But once he's actually skating, and this is where like it piqued my interest, he starts getting flashback of like, he's like, oh, I remember this feeling. And then the road that he's on in his eyes starts turning into like a snowy kind of slope, like mountain. And it's like, oh, so I know where this is going. And so while he might not know anything about skateboarding, he's not used to it. Apparently, he's a really, really good snowboarder. And then that's when I'm like, okay, I like that they did that because I don't have to suspend my disbelief as much, as like, okay, this total novice, he suddenly gets good. It's like, oh no, he's applying, what he knows from snowboarding to kind of skateboarding, and and then it all makes sense, having his feet taped on the skateboard, because on a snowboard your feet are kind of like implanted, like you have slots to put them in, so they're held in place. You don't have to worry about kind of falling off the board, just falling all together with the board. So that was like, okay. And now it's kind of like the mechanics of him getting used to like, oh, the skateboard has wheels. That's right. Okay. And this is what I do. And so I think he does end up like winning or whatever, but then the animation really, really kicks up and it gets really exciting. The scenes are really cool. And I don't know where this is going. I think it is going to get into maybe the skateboarding, like world building of kind of the underground scene and sort of like that. And then they did show that Dio knockoff character. So again, I don't know what they have planned, but that second half or last third of the episode alone was, interesting enough that made me bring it up from like a generic anime I was about to write off to like a decent, that there might be something here. So I definitely recommend checking it out because I really liked how they did that. It felt more earned, and that's why I appreciated about it. Like, okay, he already has a grasp of something. It's kind of just using that already existing skill set and kind of shifting it, adapting it to something similar, something else. So I like that. And that's why this is a 3 or a decent. It's confusing with the numbers, but a decent. And I will try doing this poll thing again. If you've watched it, definitely let me know if you'd rate it differently, if you just thought, hey, this was just great, or you know what, that scene didn't even make up for it. It was just straight trash. So let me know what you think. And then moving on next. Now I'm getting into sequel territory here. For those of you that are familiar with the show, maybe you haven't checked out the first episode yet, but I did catch the first episode of Log Horizon Season 3. Log Horizon Season 3. It has been a while. It has been a while since Season 2, and Season 2 left a bad taste in my mouth. Not because the plot and what was going on was bad, is more so the animation change in studios from the first season to the second season. And it still kind of has that same stiff, like bland, uninteresting look. But, once you get used to it, it's kind of like, it's expected. But for the story itself, or for this it's Log Horizon, so it's kind of what you come to expect. But this first episode, what was good about it was that, unlike some other premieres this season, which I will be talking about when I get to them, is wow, sorry, I was looking at the chat and I lost my train of thought. What was great about it was that it jumped right where it left off, like just, I think, fresh off of Season 2, without a bunch of recap, without a reintroduction to characters. But at the same time, like, while I like that, it felt like, we didn't even miss a beat. We're just back into Log Horizon. It was hard to be engaged with it and what was going on because it had been so long. So, okay, there is a benefit to the recap and the reintroduction, especially if the show has been off the air for so long, or for at least quite a few years, unless you refreshed on it. It was fun to see the characters again. It was a slow-moving episode, but that is Log Horizon. Nothing really happened until the very end, but like it was more like a build-up, because it did tell you in the beginning, okay, this crazy thing happens, let's go back and see how this kind of unfolded, and it is building up to that. But I guess what made it hard was kind of not remembering, and kind of that was where my lack of investment came in. And again, the visuals also don't make it kind of exciting to go back and forth. So like while I'm watching the episode, I'm trying to like follow along with the plot, but trying to really remember, oh, this is that character. Oh, this is Krusty. I love Krusty. And, whoever else. And like, oh, okay, I vaguely remember this plot. Okay, oh, shit's going down. Okay, yeah. And that was it. I don't have much to say about it. I think it's just pretty much Log Horizon. That's pretty much it. I'm going to keep watching it. And I think what kept me from putting it like lower again is because I already know sort of what to expect from the show. So that's a decent. And let me just check on the chat. And then let's see. Let's close this. So we got, for the previous show, Skate, we got 1 vote for decent and 1 vote for great. It's split. Let's do that. And what is he? Let's see that. Rex, I want to know what's worth my time. I don't think Oni knows how to add it. Add what? The poll resulted in a tie. I don't know. So redo. I mean, I could just read the ReZero of Healer manga and I'll know what's going on. You know what's funny actually about the ReZero of Healer anime? I think it's on High Dive, and I don't have a High Dive subscription, so I was just curious, and I actually got to watch it because someone uploaded it on YouTube, and they uploaded the uncensored version, and I was just in disbelief. I was like, "How is this up?" And then I checked the date, and I'm like, "This has been up for 3 days." And it hasn't been taken down. And I think I probably just informed the YouTube police of that. So I'm sorry, guys, that we're looking forward to watching the episode after that. Now YouTube knows. They know. But yeah, no, I was just surprised. I watched the whole episode right there, and it was the full experience. So I think I missed the other community ratings here, but I think this was a split vote between decent and awful. Right? No, it was decent and great. So I don't know. I think community vote is decent. And then I think community vote for Escape the Infinity was great. I think this one was decent. Did anyone watch the volleyball anime? Deity, did you watch the volleyball anime? What'd you think? Have you watched episode 2? I mean, I was surprised. Replying to Drax, who just said, the uncensored version had big old biddies. It's very surprising to see nipples, fully like shown, detailed nipples in anime. As soon as I saw the guy character that he possessed nipples, I'm like, okay, are the girls? Is this an indicator that the girls? Oh yeah, they do. They do. Okay, this is that type of anime. This should have been a hentai. Yeah, deity, I'm just messed up like that. Just like, oh, I got my fix. Now I can just blow the whistle. You know what? No one else needs to enjoy it. Sorry, guys. I'm just like that. I'm just terrible. All right, and now for the next one. This is also within the decent category. This is the Quintessential Quintuplets Season 2. As you know, I've made a video on Season 1. I enjoyed Season 1. I have nothing bad to say about, it was a solid premiere. Let me just write it in here. The thing with Season 2, this felt, what caught me off guard, and I guess I should have known from the trailer, but seeing it actually in the episode, it just felt very different from the first season in terms of the animation. I had to kind of get used to it visually. It wasn't bad. It just felt like very, very different design-wise or coloring-wise. At times I questioned if I was watching CGI character models, but I think it's just the style. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. As someone that read the whole manga already, admittedly, I'm not as invested in what's going on in the adaptation, but I'm still watching this just to support and kind of see if they do change things around. I don't think they're going to change the ending. So sorry guys, if you didn't like the ending of the manga, I think that's still going to be the end game. If they do adapt all of it in the second season, which I think that's the plan. I think the episode itself was pretty faithful to the source material. However, I don't quite remember if they switched a few things around or added some scenes here and there, but it didn't feel like anything major. What I do love about the Quintessential Quintuplets, and what I love is that they still keep going here, especially for the anime only, is that they make it pretty hard. This is a good show in terms of harems. It's a good show of really keeping you guessing of who he is going to end up with in the end, because I'm going to just say they do have especially in this first episode, they really do have a red herring, in this show. They really try to make you believe it's this one character, and then they make you believe it's this other character, and they're really selling you on it. And it's like, no, they had us guessing until the very, very end in the manga. So this, if anything, kudos to this show for doing that. And in terms of the style, again, I think it's still looking really. I think I describe the style right now as really clean. So it's looking kind of better than ever. It just takes a little getting used to. I think the word is very vibrant. I think in terms of the thickness, I think I was noticing their legs, I think the thighs are a lot less thick, from season 1, but there was a lot of shots to those, surprisingly compared to season 1, but they do look noticeably thinner. So if you want the full experience, I guess, read the manga. But in the manga, the drawings in the manga, because I did go to the manga right after season 1, it's almost just like at least the first season of the anime. It's really, really good artwork. So you don't feel much of a difference. You don't have to adapt to the style. So again, this is a decent for me, but if you guys disagree, think it's worse, better, here's another poll. Just let me know what you think within the next 3 minutes. Hopefully I'll remember this time to check over and be like, this is for the Quints anime. And then we got a few more here for decent. We got exactly 3 more. So the next one up, if you're ready, is Dr. Stone Wars. I watched the first episode. It premiered. Again, me putting these sequels in the decent category, I'm not really trying to say anything bad about them. It's just my level of sort of, I guess, excitement for it, just based off of the first episode. Now with Dr. Stone, what was great is this show felt like it never left. Everything feels and looks the same. But with most of the premieres this season, we got like a recap, reintroduction to the characters, which, like, again, for some people it might be necessary, but the show isn't that old. It's still sort of fresh in my head, and the plot wasn't that complicated. You know that going into this, it's going to be about the Stone Wars. So that recap reintroduction, I feel like, takes away from some of the momentum. It's understandable, but it does take away from some of the momentum of the premiere. So it's not as exciting, at least for me. We know that things are really going to start to kick up in the second episode. That's when, the action and like the exciting bits are really going to happen. But the episode is pretty standard from what you've come to expect from Dr. Stone. Science lessons, fun, lighthearted character interactions, and world building, or rebuilding rather. It's all about the rebuild and bringing civilization back. Standouts or highlights from the episode, I really found the explanation of instant ramen, being freeze-dried, like the whole kind of going into how to make instant ramen and it being freeze-dried food, and that whole segment was fascinating, especially because I love ramen. So it's like, oh, this is, I can dig this. One of the things that, actually, on the ramen note, before I get to this next point, is I enjoyed Senku's flashback to eating ramen with his adoptive father, Byakuya. That's definitely where the heart of Dr. Stone is, beneath all the science, and one of the strongest parts of season 1. So again, getting that call back again to him, seeing that he's still such a presence in Senku's sort of memory, drive, motivation is nice. So that their relationship is a really good, solid, I don't know, really nice, heartfelt relationship that they have. One of the things that did catch me off guard, and this isn't a bad thing, this is just more of a comment, was that the mentalist Gen Asagiri can change his appearance and voice into a girl's. I don't know if it's as they like made it seem, but I don't know. It's an interesting development. A little hard to believe, but especially in everything being so grounded in science. But he is that one character that's, not exactly completely bound by science. He is a magician. So a little hard to believe, but I can run with it. I'm interested to see how that plays out with their overall plan. But again, more of like a setup, reintroduction episode. So I feel I'm looking forward to more. I don't see myself ever dropping the show unless, it got really bad, but I think it can only go up from here. So definitely decent for me. And let's close the other poll so you guys can actually see, me writing Dr. Stone in. We got the community thought the Quintuplets was great. Okay. All right. I'm glad you guys feel that way. I disagree though. And then let's, we got what coming in saying this is cringe. Well, I'm thank you for supporting me as usual. He's like a comedian. He'll do ridiculous things. Who are we talking about? Oh, we're talking about Gen. What? You know what? Whatever, man. Do you like spicy Jojo ramen? What enjoys Minecraft. So he actually made a Dr. Stone Minecraft video. So if anything, he's the expert on that. I've never played Minecraft. So I've played Legos, but not Minecraft. Yeah. So, and then let's see, let's start that poll for Dr. Stone. Let us know what, definitely, let us know what you thought of, the, Dr. Stone premiere. Definitely make a vote. Let us know your rating out of the 4 categories here. Great, decent, generic, awful. And then moving on to more of what I thought was decent, was the Slime anime. Slime season 2 is back. I'm actually really happy that Slime is back. Very fun, wholesome show. And again, in the season 2 kind of theme of kind of like, let's get the job done, let's reintroduce everyone, kind of reacquaint you with the characters, sort of thing. expected. It was a little longer here, I think, than in Dr. Stone, but that was okay. It's kind of just going through the motions. It was super fun seeing all the characters back again. Many have said that many people's problem with the slime, that time I got reincarnated as a slime, many people's problem with the show is that they say it's boring because there are no real stakes. Because at the end of the day, when something does happen, it's mostly a peaceful village where everything is mostly under control, or at least there's a feeling that, the slime ReZero will be able to take care of all of it. But the way I think of it is that the reason it does feel like that is because it is a show that kind of, for the most part, takes place in times of peace, and peace is boring to people. But the appeal it comes in the wholesomeness and charming nature of ReZero and the whole cast and how they change around him, like by being around him, and how he nurtures them and brings out their full potential and is essentially creating a utopia, at least from where I think it's going. So this episode pretty much continued that. I have not too much else to say here. Everything else was kind of predictable. I did enjoy the battles at the end with Rimuru's entourage picking a fight against the Demon Lord Carrion's representatives. It's like, okay, let's see how my people stack up against yours. I think that's what usually happens, but it's always fun to see new characters introduced and then kind of Rimuru turning them around and kind of seeing what they build from there. So let's see this. And we've got 36 seconds left on the poll for Dr. Stone. Only one vote. Only one person saying it's decent. I think pieced out. He didn't even vote. Wow. Shame. That's sad, man. Yeah, so, Slime was definitely decent. And then once this Dr. Stone poll ends, I will start the Slime poll. It was mostly a recap, but I did like, again, sort of towards the end, what it's setting up. I'm interested to see where it goes. And the poll is closed. We still only got one vote. So that one vote will represent the community vote, which is a 3. So community thought, hey, this thing was a 3, and I think it's a 3. So we're in agreement. And then Slime Season 2, that's a 3. And let's see, you cannot vote on this poll. World Trigger is great. Well, I haven't watched that. I haven't watched Season 1. We'll get to that. I made sure to slot that in just for you. And here's the poll for Slime Season 2. And then moving on to the next thingy. Let's move on to what's next. Oh, okay. So this is the last one on my decent list. And this is like decent because I don't know where it's going to go, but it was tempting to put it in great. I really enjoyed this one. Surprisingly, I didn't expect much. And that was Mushoku Tensei, in the English is Jobless Reincarnation. This one was fun. This is your really your typical isekai with Truck Kun and all. Truck Kun cameos, kills the main character, boom, another world. And then you got your regular kind of tropes of him, being reborn as a baby. But what I enjoyed about this one, what this one was interesting, was I guess the way I can say it without going in too much, it's mostly taking place, like, how in most isekai, when they kind of go into the world, they master the skills, they grow up, and then they in some cases they get their harem and whatever, or they're already kind of like, in some isekai they kind of stay the same age, like ReZero. But in the other ones where they're reborn, again, they kind of do the time skip, they grow up, they learn, and then they're kind of OP or whatever. Here, you see him born as a baby, but then you see him go through his infancy, and then he's like a toddler. And at most right now, where the first episode was, I think you're going to see the majority of the show playing out at him being like 7 years old or however old he is. He's still a child. And what's interesting is how they're doing this step-by-step adventure of like the kid mastering kind of the magical mechanics of the world and learning how to read by himself and figuring things out. I'm always a sucker for that. That stuff's always interesting to me, like the world building and also like the combinations of like figuring out the magic systems. Like it reminds me of some really good RPGs, like Bravely Default, or what's another good one, or Fire Emblem, or something where you kind of get really like sucked into like figuring out the intricacies of kind of what you can do when you combine this with this or you do that. So, but again, not having him jump to just being OP. Like if he does get to that point at the end of the series, that's fine. But the adventure now is him kind of navigating that through his world, like him figuring out, for example, like everyone in this world, the magic system they use is through incantations, but him figuring out by himself, like, oh, wait, I could cast that magic without an incantation. And then him kind of deducing that, are they just doing incantations and saying them because magic was kind of simplified and it's faster to do an incantation where not doing it takes more focus, and now everyone thinks that's the only way of doing it. So maybe I've stumbled onto something. And then again, he's kind of like an innocent child with the mind of a perverted old man or a 30-year-old man, figuring it out because he does have all his memories intact. And that's the other thing about the show. It's kind of horny. It's okay. It's definitely horny. The parents are horny for each other. It's the main character is a pervert. It's crude, but for me it wasn't off-putting. It was like the right amount. It was a good balance. So I found it fun. And that just appeals to me, admittedly. But that in itself and the animation itself was surprisingly good. It felt, I wouldn't know if I'd call it cinematic quality, but it definitely felt like a bump above, kind of the standard fare of animation. It was definitely nice to look at, and the backgrounds were nice. So, I'm giving this a 3, but it's definitely, it was close to being a 4. I have to see where this goes. I have to see if all the quality wasn't just put in the first episode, and then episode 2 comes like, all right, yeah, let's go back to the generic kind of formula. So for Slime Season 2, we got one great and one decent. You guys are killing me with these split votes. So I'm gonna give Slime Season 2. I mean, I think we need like a tiebreaker, but I think the greats weren't enough, so decent. And then let's see, Mushoku Tensei. Let's start the poll for that. Actually, let's see what you guys have to say about it in the comments. World Trigger app is out. Time to ditch the stream. Well, thank you guys. Thanks. You guys can watch it later. You know that this is live. That's you can just check that out later. You can no longer vote. We'll wait for you. I like listening to trash taste fresh. Perviness overstayed its welcome. Oh, I thought it was okay. I thought it was a little bit crass, but I was fine with it. It's definitely I haven't seen other shows kind of lean into it that much. I guess I could do an average. I guess that makes sense. So then let's do 3.5. Yeah, 3.5. I mean, yeah, okay, let's do that. I mean, I'm tempted to give Mushoku Tensei a 3.5 now, but I'll keep it at 3. And then let's start the poll for this one. What would you guys give Mushoku Tensei? I thought it was fun. I'm definitely excited for season 2, even for just like if it was just the perviness. I mean, it wouldn't be as fun. At least it keeps its priorities more on the magic, like a hint of the perviness. It depends. It's not too off-putting yet. Because its focus is not all on that. I mean, at least it's not ReZero of Healer, okay? The guy's not trying to like rape all these girls, or get his revenge. And then I think that's it for the decent category. Yeah, so that's all I got for decent. Yeah, I thought it was great. Any more votes on this? We got 2 minutes remaining. Delph, make sure. Actually, I don't even know if you've watched it, so never mind. You can't vote. Anyone else that's checked it out? Yeah, it was fun. And now let me move on to the most anticipated category here where I'm going to talk about what I found great, like what I am looking forward to the most this season. This is it. This is where I really, really, really talk to you about what blew me away, for the most part. I think that's accurate. So let's should I wait for this poll to close? No, let's get into it. So this is that section. Let's take it away. Yes, this is the appropriate music. All right, so what I found great was, first up, this one I'm just kind of interested where it's going to go. And if you haven't watched this one, I don't want to say too much, because this is, I think the best advice I heard before watching is just like go into it blind. Don't read up on it. Just kind of just watch it and then kind of experience it, because I did not know what the hell was going on. But it was very, very interesting. I couldn't stop watching. And this is Wonder Egg Priority. And it was funny because before I watched this, I was talking with Angel Dranger, and she was like, no, anything with Wonder Egg in it is just going to be weird. And I'm like, what? How do you know that? No, like, yeah, maybe, but let's watch it. And then no, truth, lo and behold, it was definitely an experience. But it was like, out of everything, it was the most unique thing I watched, I think, in the past few years. I don't know. The only way I could describe this show, I guess, in a way without spoiling, because I can't spoil too much because I didn't get what was going on. Not completely yet, but I think that's the appeal, is it's like SSSS Gridman. That's not even a good description because it's not mecha at all. But for some reason, it gave me Gridman vibes. So the vibes of Gridman, I guess. Or maybe it's how the characters talked. It's like as if Gridman met Madoka Magica met Serial Experiments Lane. That's all I can kind of say to describe it. Like there's some elements like, and again, I'm not talking about Magical Girls mecha or even like kind of the internet thing of Lane. I'm talking more about just the kind of the vibe. So like the colorful, like poppy, like horror of Madoka with like the blood and kind of like that, just that unexpected, like, this is cute. And but then this is horrible. Like it just throws you off. And then with Gridman, I think what reminds me about it is like the conversations between the characters. There's kind of like a looseness, like a conversationalness, like a mundaneness, at least for the first parts of Gridman, and also the cinematography, like the shots, the landscape, the scenery. There's a desolateness to it that reminds me of Gridman, and Lane for like the WTF-ness of not knowing what's going on, and kind of just all these kind of elements sort of being thrown at you, I guess, if that describes it. If there's a better way to, mix and match shows to describe it, but that's the best way I can give it to you. The production quality was great. The main voice actress reminded me of the Rika Takarada, I think that's her name, from Gridman. She sounded like her, like just kind of, she had this kind of natural like delivery that didn't sound like someone speaking in an anime. And I think that's, so I thought it was her. So I went to look it up afterward on my anime list. And it turns out the whole staff for this, which is kind of exciting, is new. Actually, before I get to that, let me close this poll. So we got for Mushoku Tensei, 2 votes for decent, 1 vote for great. I agree with that. I have to see where it's going. So that's that. We're pretty much in line with our ratings here. Nothing too controversial. Glad you guys mostly agree with me. But back to Wonder Egg Priority. It's that was so the way she spoke. No, I'm sorry. I covered that the way she spoke. So I went to check on like first to confirm if it was the same voice actress, and I was surprised to find out the staff for this is mostly like all new. Like the actual voice actress for the main character, she's like 16, and this is one of her first roles. Her only other role being another anime airing this season. So these are her first 2 roles in voice acting anime, at least. And she did a really good job. The fact that she stood out to me. And then the staff, I was looking at their credits. Most of them, a good majority of them, at least the director and stuff, have not worked on many other anime, like only one other or 2 others. I think there's like 2 or 3 more experienced staff members sprinkled in between, but it just feels like, okay, this is definitely like something new here, that fresh new faces to the industry are kind of like creating. And I also read from someone that was articulated this very well, that the staff for this is clearly or in some way taking influence from Kyoto Animation's work in terms of the prettiness and the beautifulness of the animation. And as you know, they're known for Violet Evergarden, which is the epitome of that. If you've seen the way they animate water, in Free and in Violet and all those shows, but they're taking that influence, and with it, they're creating more of something that Kyoto Animation would never do. And it's not like an intentional deconstruction of that, but more of, and again, I don't know enough. I'm kind of just paraphrasing here what I read here, but they're taking that to create something more visceral, horrifying, and jarring, sort of more like in line with like I don't know, like more like a Perfect Blue, Boogie Pop Phantom, Paranoia Agent. I think if those titles mean anything to you, sort of like that. So I'm interested to see where this goes, where this unfolds. So for that reason, I for it just standing out, I give it I'm going to give it a great. That's why I'm excited for it. I have to see where it goes. It's more that I just thought it was a great premiere, at least. And if you still haven't seen it, and yes, we're still on Wonder Egg. I just finished. No worries. It was definitely weird. I just had a lot to say about it. If I lost you guys at some point with Wonder Egg, this whole time I was talking about the staff in Wonder Egg, and kind of like, I gave my thoughts on the show, didn't reveal too much about it, and kind of just to recap, it was just talking about the staff kind of being all new. I am gonna take probably a little bit longer with the ones I'm kind of most excited about, because I just feel like I have more to say. But let's do the poll for this one. If you've watched it, if you haven't, then rip. So that's Wonder Egg. I recommend at least checking it out. It might not be for you, but I think that first episode was worth checking out. And next up, this one was really, really good. I really enjoyed this one. I was already looking forward to watching it. So all the anime I was kind of looking forward to watching before the season started turned out, mostly besides the surprise being Wonder Egg priority, mostly being the animes that ended up meeting my expectations and are the ones I'm excited about. So, but I was pleasantly surprised by Horimiya's premiere. I had never read the manga. I had heard good things, but the adaptation itself, I feel like had to have elevated it so much, because the opening alone was really, really good. It kind of reminded me of a Wotakoi opening, where like the visuals were so creative and nice and charming and kind of like personalized to the characters. I don't know. It had that vibe to it. And the show itself was good. The leads are very charming, interesting, very fun. There's a nice dynamic. I think it's really just supposed to be kind of like a rom-com. That's what it is, essentially. It's a romance comedy slice of life. But again, the strength of the 2 leads alone, and I think they're slowly going to trickle in the rest of the cast, is what made it really fun to watch. Fun, cute, endearing, kind of to see the chemistry between the 2 main characters and kind of like their 2 different worlds, how they're 2 completely different people, but that kind of creates a bond between them. So I don't know. And I did really enjoy the lead female character. She seems there was one scene in particular in the episode where she could have had like this emotional outburst of the guy not like telling her what he was actually thinking, and then she didn't. She did, like, she was a little hurt, but it didn't. She just was this. She just kind of hit him. She was just she prioritized more. Like it's like what they had already built in terms of relationship wasn't just suddenly thrown out of a window because of some mistake. He explained himself, and then that was it. It was like she was pretty sensible about it. I was like, okay, I like this girl. She's cool. It's not like, okay, forced drama. Like, just throw everything. We built with each other, all that, a rapport, and that's out the window. So I'm really looking forward to see more. Very colorful, very pleasing character designs. I don't know. This one's awesome. So. Yeah, so this one was definitely one I'm looking forward to. And the poll for the other one is just ended just in time. That one was Wonder Egg Priority. Got a decent. All right, I don't fault you for that. That's understandable. And that's Wonder Egg Priority. If you guys watch Horimiya, I highly recommend that you watch it. It's I don't know if it'll rival. It's different because it's more slice of lifey than comedic, but I don't know if this will end up rivaling my love for the Kaguya-sama anime, which is also a great adaptation of a rom-com. So if you haven't watched the show, highly recommended. And I'm very much looking forward to episode 2. So let's start the poll for that. And so next up on this list is, and you might disagree with me on this one, and I understand that, but is The Promised Neverland Season 2. So, if anything, this could have been lower because it I don't know, it was nothing like crazy happened, but it's I've watched 2 episodes, to be fair, so it's exciting where it's going. As I was watching it, it felt, first of all, it felt very different. It was very easy to dive back into it. It didn't really need a recap or all of that because it was pretty straightforward where it last left off with the kids escaping into the world full of enemies, and now it's you knew where it was going. So now it's like, okay, what's awaiting them, and now it changes the dynamic completely. As I was watching, I found myself like, this feels very different. It's because the allure now is not escaping the farm. They're trying to obviously find kind of an escape to it's survival now, because they don't even know if there is hope or what is out there, or if everything is just demons. It's just the not knowing and what they'll find. And that's why I found myself getting like a Made in Abyss feel kind of now from the show. Like, it's a whole new world to explore. But whereas Made in Abyss is more about like, oh, what is in the abyss? Like that curiosity. This is less about curiosity and more clearly about survival. More clearly about what is going to jump out at us. What can we expect? Made in Abyss has that. But it is the curiosity and getting to know what is in the abyss. This is more of getting to know what, if there is hope and if we can survive, I guess. I'm trying to like make the distinction here. But the point is, it was a totally different dynamic than what we were used to. And so the characters, the dynamic that we already knew, it feels a little more vulnerable. It feels a little more unclear how, it's different when we had Emma, Ray, and Norman, and they had their thing, when they were in the farm and somewhere where they were used to. Now it's all kind of uncertain. They're really unsafe. And with a band of kids who can't even that are a lot ranging in ages a lot younger than them, not knowing because it's not only about them surviving. It's not only about, the older kids surviving. It's about getting the little kids to safety. And that's very interesting. And then also getting to know the more about the demons and what's out there and what the state of the world, which we get a little more in episode 2. So again, very, very interesting. Going from, kind of their perspective of not being tied,
inhibited by like season 1, not knowing anything outside of the farm, and now kind of it's an open world. And then like my last note on that is it feels very obvious that Norman isn't dead. I feel like he'll join back up later somehow. The cast sort of feels a little uneven with him missing, and maybe that's the point. It feels like there's a gap. Like he just added that part to the dynamic. You know, Emma and Ray are great characters, but I don't know. It's just that Norman added that other more thoughtful perspective. Emma's clearly the heart. Ray is clearly like the application of how to do things, and Norman is more of the overall strategist, the one with the vision. So yeah, but anyways, yeah, no, I definitely am really looking forward to where The Promised Neverland season 2 goes. I have not read the manga. I've heard some things. I don't want to know too much. I'm just gonna go along for the ride to see what comes up. And let's see what we got on. What we got on Horimiya was great. Yep, let's all agree there. Yeah, Horimiya was great. Delph says Horimiya and Kaguya are like apples and oranges. Honestly, not fair to compare the two. Yeah. Well, I meant like in terms of. Well, hold on. Wait, hold on. Let me back up a bit. What is this about Horimiya is leagues better than Kaguya-sama? Kaguya-sama is awesome, okay? Wait, you're the one that you don't even like Kaguya-sama, first of all. So, you didn't even watch past episode 1. I know that for a fact. But, use code OniMaru for 0% off. Yeah, that's accurate. No, I'm comparing them in the sense that they're both rom-coms. That's kind of it, you know, in terms of rom-coms. They're two, you guys are right. They're two completely different shows. But rom-coms. Although, is Kaguya, I know Horimiya is a shoujo. Is Kaguya, I think Kaguya is a shonen. Yeah. So it is a totally different vibe. And it is a real love story where Kaguya is all about the tease for hundreds and hundreds of episodes. Yeah, I am misunderstanding. I don't know what's going on, guys. I'm catching up on the chat. Come on, I recap you guys. You guys can recap me. So that's Horimiya. I'm gonna start the poll for Promised Neverland. So let's get that going. And while that's going, let's move on to the next anime that I'm most looking forward to this season. Oh no, okay, we've hit the point of the last two, which are my obvious picks, which I have to talk about. So, let's talk about Attack on Titan final season, which is on 5 episodes right now. I probably should have kept this towards the end, but it's almost at the end. I mean, I think final season has been phenomenal, and this is someone that has not read the manga in a long time, so I do not know anything that's going to happen in final season, and I want to keep it that way. No spoilers in the chat. I want to keep myself pure. When something says final season, that's it. That's if you haven't been watching, that's the point where you can, all systems go. You're going to have to just watch it. That you have this. It is very rare. It is very rare to get this security in anime that you will be able to watch and get a story's conclusion all at once, and once you get that, that's it. That's the finish line. You can just go all in. So I'm glad I caught up to season 3 a few months back. That was phenomenal. But final season at first, again, as someone that was hyped up by season 3 and kind of just wanting, and it's hard when you're watching something airing weekly. I just wanted it to get to, where we left off. And then it kind of throws you in and you're not sure what time period it is, where we are, who these characters are, why I should care. I kind of hate when stories do that, because then it's like, I'm not really invested in these characters. Like, why are we spending so long on this? But again, I did call myself out on that as I was watching. I'm like, well, this is obviously building up to something. It's just my lack of patience watching every week, wanting it to already get there. And once it all culminated in episode 5, which was last Sunday, it was brilliant. how it's set up the same dynamic. And if you guys haven't watched, I'll try not to spoil too much here. It's essentially set up, and there is a time skip from season 3 to this one. And where the setting is where we're on the other side, where the enemy side, kind of seeing how they live, Marley, the nation of Marley, and how it sets up the same dynamic Eren and the people behind the walls had in season 1, but now from the opposite perspective is brilliant. It's like we've come full circle, and now you don't really know, like, it's nice, but it's also like such a big gray area, because now it's like we don't know who the real bad guys are anymore. There are no bad guys. Everyone has their own story, their own perspective, and it's like, you know, you want to root for Eren and the squad and, you know, the characters you've become invested in, but it's like, is what they're doing right? And that whole moral dilemma, which it started setting up in season 3, is now really coming out, and it's really engaging. So I'm super excited for episode 6 tomorrow, which I think, I think it's still continuing off of the action, and probably the episode after that will be like Aftermath. But a lot of great things to say about Attack on Titan final season. If you haven't been watching it, I highly recommend to catch up. You know, in terms of season 1 was okay, season 2 I enjoyed, season 3 was really, really good, and season 4, if everything goes right, I don't know where the manga's at. I do hear that it only has 3 more chapters. Some people are complaining it might not be enough time to have a proper ending, but you know, I think this might has a great possibility of ending up being a possible masterpiece. And then the only other thing about episode 5 specifically last week is I was hearing there was some criticism / like there was some controversy. I think some threats to the director, that's never cool. It's just always an overreaction by fans. But it was about the music choice, the use of the OST selection at the very end of the episode when the big moment happened. Spoilers, when Eren transforms. People say it didn't fit. It was so awful. It turned them, off to it. For people that read the manga, it's not what they envisioned. It wasn't as hype. It just didn't, And I didn't get it, because I was, as a non-manga reader, not knowing what was happening, just waiting for this build-up, waiting for this payoff. To me, it worked. I wasn't even paying attention to the OST. I was paying attention to what was going on. And that scenario, I was hyped already with what was happening. I did have to go back because I did want to understand the criticism. And as I listened to the OST closely, it did sound like a marching band playing, when it could have been something that, for that scene, for the vibe it was giving, which is more of this ominous feeling, it should have been more of like a menacing sort of OST. And that would have probably made it more epic or more grand, that entrance. But besides that, it, again, not enough of a big deal to kind of threaten directors over it. A lot of times they might fix these things later on in the Blu-ray release. I don't know if they would fix an OST choice, but, I don't know. And things have been hard with the whole pandemic and production issues and staff being overworked. So I try to be mindful of that. But I didn't really have a problem with it initially. So let's check on... We got one vote for The Promised Neverland, saying it was great, and that's enough for me. So that's Promised Neverland is out of 4. And what do you guys think of Attack on Titan final season? It's been great. Does anyone disagree with that? Did you have a problem with the music selection in the last episode? Do you think that was an overreaction? Did you not even care? I'm just really excited to see what happens next. Everything's kind of really, really coming together. Let's start that poll for Attack on Titan final season for those of you that have watched it. And again, watch it if you haven't, please. So that's that poll starting up. And then this brings me to my last anime, which is not really a surprise. The last anime that I'm most excited for this season out of what premiered. And it's actually on to episode, like 2 episodes have been out already for it, which is ReZero second season part 2, the second half, the second core of ReZero's second season. And I thought the second season has been really, really good. And this second half is even better. What we've gotten in these last 2 episodes have been great. There was a lot of Otto love in the actual premiere episode. We jumped right back into it, right where the first half left off. And, Otto, best boy, he's definitely the best. I wouldn't call him he's not a wingman yet. He'd probably be a good wingman, but he definitely gave Subaru the push that he needed, which he often does need. I have heard some complaints about, or some criticisms from some people, that this whole season, it feels like Subaru hasn't learned and he just keeps doing the same mistakes and being stupid. But goddamn, I think these past 2 episodes more than made up for that. In the recent episode, that scene with Subaru and Emilia, it was so raw and emotional. It's like this whole season is just breaking down the characters and really like getting them to acknowledge their own flaws and reach like question what they're doing, question their methods, and find a better way of doing things. But that all starts with that sort of self-acceptance and moving on from the past, which are, kind of what weighed down some of the characters, especially Subaru in season 1, and a little bit in season 2 with kind of what went on with Rem and, everything kind of when things take a twist, it makes things harder. So again, animation's still good. I don't know. I'm very excited to see ReZero every week. I'm surprised that they've delivered so much good material. I thought, again, like the other season 2 premieres, maybe because this is kind of this second core as opposed to an actual premiere of the season, it was going to be like some recap or like a kind of an easing in. But no, this went right back into it, and it offered a lot of character development and payoff within those 2 episodes. And I feel like Emilia and Subaru finally hit like a milestone in their relationship. So definitely great. And yeah, so that's ReZero season 2. I don't know what more I have to say about that. If you guys have anything else you want to add in the chat, in the comments, let me know. Let me check on this Attack on Titan poll. Did anyone even vote? Oh, did I even open it? This is one of those where nope, no one voted. No one has watched it. Well, you guys should watch it. It's great. Unless this didn't vote. Let me just double check. There it is. Part 1. Okay. Yeah. No, nothing for this. Okay. I think the poll closed. So no votes for Attack on Titan. So if I did it right, you guys can let me know if I didn't. That gets a hyphen for no votes. Unless I didn't open it. Let me just double check. Oh, the poll was canceled. Okay. Well, should I start that poll again for Attack on Titan? All right, well, I'm going to start the poll for ReZero season 2. Hopefully this one works, and what you guys think about ReZero season 2. That's for ReZero season 2. What'd you guys give these past 2 episodes so far? Strong season, great, decent, generic, awful. Delph asks, I'm not really caught up with AOT. Would it be wild to just jump in blind for the last season? I think it would be wild, and you'd be really lost. I'm not sure you'd appreciate it as much, like just jumping in personally. I think there's so much good material in season 3 that it is worth catching up and going to last season, and then you'll really, really get a lot out of it. If you want to skip season 2, I don't know if you mean season 2. By all means, you can jump into season 3 and maybe, wiki season 2. But I think you've read the manga for it. I don't know. But I don't think you would care as much for the final season if you didn't watch season 3. Because there's just, again, there's a lot, exposition wise, information wise, a lot that you learn in season 3 and character developments. So that's my recommendation. So let's wait for this ReZero poll to close up. So far, we have 2 votes for the great. You guys have good taste. I agree with that. It's been a really good ride, and so that's pretty much it for what the 14 kind of shows that I watched this season. If what's amazing is, again, so many good anime this season. If I watched Yuru Camp season 1, World Trigger season 1. And if I wasn't waiting for Netflix to drop Beastars, that would bring me up to 17 shows. When I was younger, that would be like a dream come true. Having a nice show to watch every day, that's always exciting. It's like opening a gift every day. Unless the episode's like bad or a filler. But that's crazy, the amount. So, and depending if I drop stuff, I still think I'll have like 9 shows I'm watching, which is still a lot. It's very exciting. But, and this poll is about to close, by popular request, and by popular request, I mean, one person's adamant, persistent request, I will now that I've talked about these guys, I only felt it was fair, to now kind of have this separate, and if you guys want to stick around, are my thoughts on the leftovers from last season, and I think there's only 2 for me. I think leftovers from the last season, there's a few, but I'm only watching 2, so for me, that's Jujutsu Kaisen and Yashahime. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on those in a second. Let me just finish this up and complete. So we've got everyone thought ReZero is great. That's great. Great. So ReZero is great. Let's have a round of applause for you guys. That's not, we finished. Okay. We did it. We did it. We did it. We did it together. It's done. We have good taste. We all agree. That's great. So, so let me give you my thoughts on Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen so far, I think has been good. Not great, good. I don't know. It's gotten more interesting over time. I definitely was really feeling it when they introduced the Nanami character. I find him very interesting, especially with his going into overtime ability and how that actually plays off of him being like a salary man and having to work overtime. So that was fun. Yeah, that's kind of when the show started picking up a little bit for me, although I was really waiting for, I think I did watch the latest episode yesterday, and now I'm even more interested because I was looking forward to this tournament style battle with the other school, with Yuji kind of meeting back up with the other students, kind of being back in the group, because him by himself was like, okay, but kind of seeing him with the rest of the cast and interactions makes it more interesting, especially as he plays off of with the other students, the Panda and all of them who he hasn't interacted with as much. So there's some potential here. And again, I'm not looking at this from a purely, from an action perspective, animation, scenes, that's all great, even phenomenal even. It's really well animated. The opening was, both opening and ending were, for the first half of the season, were really, really good. Both the songs and the visuals. A lot of care put into those. And even now, the new opening and new ending are just great. I think what they're doing with the opening, it really stands out from any other openings, at least that I don't know if I'd say I've ever seen, maybe, but at least definitely this season or the last 2 seasons. Cause again, this is one of those where I think I'm looking at CG, but it's not really. It's that they're, hand drawn. The characters are hand drawn, but they're being put on realistic, almost photorealistic backgrounds with the level of detail, and they have some motion blur kind of going on to make it look like you're really seeing them sort of out in real life. And the second opening really doubled down on that, and the ending even more so, where it has Yuji kind of filming from the smartphone of his camera, and it looks like you're seeing a scene of your friends kind of hanging out at the beach, very kind of daily life, kind of contrasting how they live in their daily life and are just normal kids, but they're dealing with all these kind of curses that kind of blend into your everyday life. I don't know. I'm trying to extract meaning from this, but either way, the new opening ending, awesome. And I think, I still see Jujutsu Kaisen as something having potential to be something that's great, but it's not there yet for me personally. That's what I think. Yeah, I'd agree. 7 out of 10. I think basically, it is very beautiful, that ending. 7 out of 10 is where I'd put it. It's not that 8 out of 10 for me yet. Don't know if it'll get there, but that's what I think. And I should say, those are my thoughts for Jujutsu Kaisen. And for anyone else that's on the stream, definitely, I concluded my, first impressions mostly. So if, again, you're interested in sticking around, I'm only going to talk about Yashahime and anything else that kind of comes out in the chat. But if you want to jump off, thanks for joining on the stream, seeing my first impressions. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know definitely if you'd like to see something like this again. I totally didn't, say who I introduced myself at the beginning. If you don't, I think everyone knows. I think it's usually the regulars here, but I'm OniMaru, and if you want to check out some of my other scripted content, go on over to my OniMaru channel to just see some of my other videos. I am still working on stuff, kind of balancing the whole, live streaming with kind of these other projects I have that I'm working on. So definitely check those out. And yeah, so without further ado, if you want to stick around, I'm going to be talking about, that concludes my thoughts for Jujutsu Kaisen. And I have a little bit of a bone to pick. Oh yeah. Now you're taking your leave when he's talking about Yashahime now. All right. I got what I wanted. He talked about Jujutsu Kaisen. I am satisfied. I'm jumping off. I got better things to do. I got to watch that World Trigger. I mean, I don't blame you. If this was this time tomorrow, I'd be jumping off right now to go watch Attack on Titan, which airs at 3:45 tomorrow. Yeah, I know the exact time. So I'd do the same. Yeah, man, catch you later. Thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. So final thoughts on stuff airing this season. Yashahime. I don't know. I'm definitely not. That's the only other show I'm watching, which some weeks I'm not motivated to watch it. Some weeks I'm like, oh, okay, the thumbnail, something's actually going to happen. I will watch it. I'll check it out. And then I'm kind of disappointed. I really don't know what they're trying to do there. It feels like it's just kind of, I'm not trying to be too harsh on it, but it feels like it's really trying to milk your interest in the previous franchise more so than what it's actually doing with its characters and the new series, and doing something new that's interesting. And I don't find them to be interesting. I really just want to know what happened to the old cast. And that's not a good feeling for a new series that's not really about them. So it's really kind of playing off of that. And again, I'm going to watch this week's episode because the trailer showed the old cast, and apparently we're finally going to get some answers to that. And it's like, okay, that's why I'm watching. But if that's all I'm watching it for, then, it doesn't really stand on its own. And, I've watched Inuyasha. I watched the final act, which was great. I'm not really hating on the franchise. Just this in particular is not up to that standard, So those are my thoughts of Yashahime. If you guys agree, let me know in the chat. If you disagree, if you think, it's doing something good, maybe I'm not seeing something, or, you think it has some redeeming qualities, I'm open. Let me know in the chat, but I'm just not enjoying it. It feels very, very monster of the week. And that's doesn't really retain my interest too much. Cause again, it's kind of throwaway monsters, like throwaway demons that don't really add too much value to kind of what we're interested in seeing, or like building the story. Sometimes it kind of just feels like it's just there to be there. And no, to answer Delph's question, yes, you know what? I misspoke. I am still watching Higurashi. I did not drop it. Watched the recent episode. I just, for some reason, I didn't think about bringing it up. Because that feels like if I brought that up, it's kind of like, I don't know, I've been spoiling everything else, but Higurashi is kind of like more intricate. So like there's a lot of mystery going on. I'm still watching Higurashi. I just watched the latest episode. That's been good. Don't know where it's going. It's been heavy. But now like things have really, really kicked it up, and it's getting crazy. So I'm excited to see. I've had a little bit of frustration with the lack of kind of things happening. And now that we're in the second core of the season, you know, I'm, and I shouldn't say things happening, but like getting answers. And now that we're in the second half of the season, I'm really, really expecting, like, come on, like we need to have more as to what's going on here and more to look forward to. And I think it's really going to, hopefully in the next episode, really start to dig into the core of what's going on. So far it's still kept my interest. It's definitely something I look forward to watching. Some of the faces are still, I thought it would be fixed by now, but I guess it's just kind of the style. Some of the faces still aren't really horrifying. They're just really kind of like very silly, and it kind of takes away the horror factor of it. Like, I know it's hard to do, like, make anime truly scary in terms of making it look horrifying, but I don't know. It's too over the top in this season of Higurashi. Instead of, at least it doesn't even capture like the creepy vibe, you know. As Angel Dranger was telling me, I don't know why, that with the second episode of the recent episode of ReZero, I think she found Subaru and Amelia's faces in that scene at the end more creepy than most of the faces we've seen in Higurashi. Although this recent episode, not creepy, but it did get a little more violent than what it's shown us so far, which is surprising. But you know, they keep coming up with new stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about Higurashi. And I think that kind of covers everything I've been watching this season. And I am watching, that's kind of a lot, actually. I did say this brings me up to 14 shows that I watched this week, with Jujutsu Kaisen Yashahime, which is on and off. That's 16 shows. With Higurashi, that is 17. Realistically, I think what I'm looking at here, knowing myself, I will be losing interest or dropping like maybe 4 or 5 of these. And I'll probably end up with almost, I still think, like 10 shows. So that's still a lot to look forward to. I did recently make a deal with Angel Dranger that swears to me that World Trigger Season 1 is really good, and that I should check it out, because I'm not going to watch Season 2 without watching Season 1. So that's 50 episodes. It's a bit of an investment. What do you guys think? Have you watched World Trigger Season 1? Is it worth watching so I could watch Season 2? I'm still going to be waiting for Beastars to drop on Netflix later in the summer. That's such a long wait till then, but whatever. And Yuru Camp, I would have to finish Season 1. I've always heard great things. I don't know. Season 1 didn't really draw me. The first episode of Season 1 didn't really draw me in. But maybe, again, the appeal of the show is kind of that slice of life, sort of enjoying the scenery sort of thing. So I don't know. How's Season 2 so far? Is it kind of carrying on the torch of what made Season 1 so good? You know, is it worth catching up? I'm definitely open to suggestions. Not like I have time, but you know, I'm definitely opening to watching it. And maybe I will cover some of these shows in an actual like video on the OniMaru channel this season, depending on what's there. What would you guys like to see me kind of dissect or make a video on? Should I make a sequel to the Quintessential Quintuplets video? You know, just what you're interested in. Regardless, I'll probably end up just doing a video on whatever, you know, piques my interest at the time, but I'm definitely always open to suggestions. 73 episodes. That makes it a harder sell. How am I going to have time to watch 73 episodes? Yeah, so I think we're at a good stopping point for the stream. If you guys have, you know, nothing else to say, I hope you enjoyed the stream. That about concludes it for today. I will be streaming again tomorrow, same time, 2 p.m. EST. I will be streaming a special Evangelion podcast episode. So tomorrow is actually the stream will be the first recording of the actual Just Weebs podcast or Just Weebs show. I'm planning so far to do like also an audio version and have that up on, you know, Apple Podcasts or something. But for now, the stream will be tomorrow, and I will be joined by What the What, who, you know, you've occasionally seen frequent the chat and cause some chaos and then leave. But he recently rewatched all of Evangelion, which he has hated for years now. He gave it a 1 out of 10. He gave all of it a 1 out of 10 on Mal, and now it's gone up in his eyes. You know, he probably doesn't feel as strong about it, but he definitely enjoyed it more. However much you can enjoy Evangelion from an actual pleasurable standpoint, but he enjoyed it more. So we're gonna just discuss it, kind of experience, and just talk about Evangelion in general tomorrow at around 2 p.m. EST again. So if you can join us for that, that should be fun. And that's what's going on. You can catch me on Twitter, my Discord, and I will be doing another stream besides tomorrow's stream, same time, Saturdays, 2 p.m. EST next week. I will see what I have to do. I definitely won't be going back to my anime list for now, so I'll definitely announce it what's coming up next week soon. But if I see you guys tomorrow, hope to see you there.